think I'm already doing both. Yeah. So we're good to go.
Okay.
This one's
So you said you had some questions to start with.
well, mostly if we could go through normal CIP through the workflow, or at least we can start doing that.
What do you want to go? Because I did tell about the normal CIP workflow. Pull on your normal CIP project. We'll just do a refresher and see what details you want.
Well, I don't have any
Okay.
details for that. I just want to say
So a normal CIP project, I said, goes through. There are phases of project. All the phases. And a normal CIP goes through all the phases. Others are kind of subsets of it. So from that point of view, you thought that let's go through it, I assume. So it starts with pre-scope. Go to the first project that's a capacity. Go to the next one. Please
this
must be
one,
older.
the scope only
Where is scope only? I don't see.
over here on the left.
Oh, you're trying to
Normal.
search? Then you need to
Yeah.
reset first.
Yeah, I already
I was
reset it.
saying
I
what
don't
you
have it.
have out of the ones you have, you could pick a
Oh,
CIP also. But if it's a very old one, I wouldn't. No, 2.4 is not the
I
good
I
series,
don't think
right?
it is a very old one because this is UET. Let me see
Yeah,
the
no,
one that I
plus
was using.
plus there's one starting with 2.4 test projects, I think, created by some other team, so those are not.
Yeah, so
Live
you want
projects like
a capacity or a CIP one?
normal CIP applies to a CIP project. So we'll have to take a CIP one to see the workflow or talk about the workflow for a normal CIP project.
Okay.
So management type normal CIP, the first one.
Normal, this one's?
Yes, this is what you're asking. So
Okay.
take construction as the station. So that I'm trying to take the one which is in its last stage so that you see all the activities that it goes through, because the schedule at any point of time is shown only till the project where the project has reached. So if it's halfway, it's getting designed. So what we see in this summary or schedule is just still design. So that's why I want to take a project which is at just it's almost at end so that we see everything. Construction, okay, take closeout and whatever you want to take, active, completed, take completed. But then you'll get very old after. Okay, no problem. Now,
Yes. Yeah, I
yeah,
just
the
want to see
first,
something really quick. Yeah, completed. All right.
okay. Now go to the phase summary tab on top. So this is what I've been talking about, that a normal CIP project goes through all the activities that are defined for a project in PTS. Pre-scope is the first one, then scope, design, RFC, bid and award, construction, and closeout. And the same, the filter I made you do, last time also I said, do filters like this, and instead of normal CIP, take construction no NTP, take the activity towards the end, and then that way, and see what you're seeing now. So that will take
Okay. So
that,
you want me
that
to
will
reset this?
no,
Reset
don't
this one?
reset that. I'm just saying you could do for others also. Like we
Okay.
don't have to go through this for in the sessions for all types, because effectively once you get the comfort zone of seeing what you have to see where, you'll be familiar, and it's more of the more you search, the more you'll be comfortable. So basically it starts with pre-scope. That's the initial stage of the project where I could, if you want me to correlate with our work, we could say something like not requirement gathering is actually done before this, but functional specs are being written, then it's being scoped out. So the first step is done by ODC, the pre-scope. So when a project comes in, it comes in as pre-scope started, means it just when it comes into PTS from PIP, the initial status that it attains is a normal CIP project is what I'm talking about, is pre-scope active. So it started the pre-scope activity as soon as it comes into PTS. We assume it started. or that's the way the rules were laid out. So that's the initial status that is set. So the day it gets created, it has the date actual start. So this project was created on April 4th, 2021. So as soon as the project was created from PIP initiated, it gets the actual start date of the date it got, the date, that's its birthday. So it came into PTS on that day. So that's the start of the project. And then they do some initial um, assignments of attributes and all DDR does. And once he's done with that, if you go into if you click on the LLW in the grid, go to the API page. On the right section, you see LLW update completed checkbox towards the top only, right?
Yes.
So once he's done with this, whatever he has to update at this stage of the project, he comes and marks it as LLW update completed. And that usually the status is associated with dates. So when the dates get changed, the status gets changed. The dates get changed mostly via PPM. So the status change mostly happens via dates entered in PPM, but then there are exceptions where date does get changed based on some other factors, then this being the first one. So when they mark LLW completed, it moves from pre-scope active, that means the pre-scope task was being done and it's completed. So it moves from when this checkbox is clicked, it feeds the actual end date for pre-scope. That means the pre-scope activity is getting completed. And the day they mark it as LLW completed, that becomes the actual end date for pre-scope, and the status gets changed. So this is one of the exceptions where status gets changed via PTS based on not a indirectly it's based on a date. It's basically the date the LLW update got completed. So that's the date that gets fed. The date gets updated or the schedule gets updated via PTS in this case instead of PPM. So there's a status change, there's a date fed into PPM via PTS. So that's the end of pre-scope, which is ideally done by ODC. So the department who handles it. So usually the status when you see it is PC, PS, AC. PC, PS, AC is the starting status, which is PC is project stands for project controls, which on today's date they call them ODC. I think they were called project controls department before. So it's project controls, pre-scope, PS stands for pre-scope, and AC and all inbox AC, all this IN stands for inbox, AC stands for active, and CX stands for completed. So in this case, it will become a PC, PS, CX, which means it's completed and ready to forward. That there's a difference between completed and ready to forward. So basically what happens is project controls department only does this task or this activity and they are done. So now the next step would be done by another department. So when there's another department involved in the movement of a schedule or task, what happens is there's a forwarding done. Basically it's forwarded to the other department. So basically this project at this point, once they mark LLW completed, is for project controls, it's complete and it's ready to forward so that they can forward it to the next department, which is A&E, because scope and design are two activities which are done by A&E. Different departments do different work in the life cycle of a project. So one department we talked about, and they do one activity and they're complete. I told you how it comes into it, with what status, how it moves the status, which is non-date, indirectly non-date based, and is one of the exceptions where date is updated in PPM via PTS and the status becomes ready to forward. So now what DDR does is, which environment you are in?
UAT.
Okay. So come out of it. So once we save this, he gets the status
Do I click
changes.
save or just close?
No, we didn't change anything. Oh, you did?
Yep. No, I
Okay.
didn't change it.
Okay, close. And okay, another thing, once the LLW update complete is marked and the status moves, it gets disabled. So just now when I asked you this, I realized that if it's already beyond that, it is because we search for projects which are closed out. So it's nowhere in project controls. So that must be a disabled column in any case. Even if you have all rights, it will be disabled because the enable disable is not based on your security rights. In some cases, it's also based on the where the project stands. So project is much way ahead towards the tail end of the workflow. So at this point, definitely that column would never be available to us, how much ever security rights we may give us ourselves. So once that is done, DDR, whoever is the responsible designated person to do that, I think DDR does most of the times. He forwards the project or hands it over to any, which is done via project routing. This also lightly I've touched, but now we are touching it in a different way, going through the workflow and seeing what all touch points are there. So which is what is it? Home generic functions. In the menu, generic functions. Second one after home.
Routing.
Yeah, so that is the option he uses to forward it to hand it over to the second other department. Now this whole data that comes in this screen is all what do you call rules based, and the rules are embedded in a table as rows. So basically when we did PTS, we defined all the roles in the table, which was quite a tedious task, and this at the moment it just picks from there. So it's a good design because anything changes or anything to be added or anything, it's pretty simple, and otherwise to do it would have been very tedious. This was tedious too, but then it's at least flexible. So how did you come across these LLWs? What did you do? You chose
I only
LLW.
click show available projects.
Okay, so
I suppose
default
it's
settings.
yeah.
Okay, so basically LLW routing is this page is used at various stages of the project, but this is the first instance when it gets used, which is to move it from the first department to the second department. So basically, at that point of time, the project is only at defined as a LLW, lowest level of work. So now it's getting forwarded to A&E. So we say we want to do it at LLW, and we do routing type. So we are forwarding or reverse forwarding. Sometimes what happens is if we forward it, they say, oh no, this is not complete. We are sending it back to you. So that time we do a reverse forward. It's from the next department, it goes to the previous department. We'll come to that later. So at this point, we are doing forwarding, which is going ahead with the task for the project. So we do forward, and then for forward, it gives you various options that combinations that can be done. So this particular one, as of now, we are going from project controls, which is the first department, which I talked about that what it does, and we are done with that. And we are from project controls, we are moving the project to A&E department. So that's what from and to means. And then you say show available projects. So when you say show available projects, it leverages what are the rules defined, which that project is in project controls. When a project is in project controls, ready to forward, where all it can go, based on that, it gives you the different rows. Now, in this case, the LLWs, there are times when you will see, what does it say? Let me see. PCPSAC to PCPSCX to AEPSAC. Okay, so go down a little, scroll down. Why does it show like this? Only three? Why doesn't it show whole screen? Because there's scroll bar and it's using only half the real estate, which is strange. I wanted to show that the same LLW could appear twice. So in the grid is what I was looking for.
In this grid.
Yes, there'll be times where it can go to FNE also based on the, I don't know if in this case it'll come, but that's all rule based. Basically, a project can have two routes also to go forward. It could go this route or that route. Like how we could take this highway or this highway based on what we want to do. So or where we want to go. So accordingly, there are times when that example I'll take later, but expect LLW to appear twice here. In that case, the destination or the where it will go would be different. The from would be same PCPSCX, where it would go would be two different statuses based on the management template. Anyway, so basically, whichever one you want to route, you just route. Basically, select it and route. I think there's multiple selection. I'm not sure, but you could do bulk also. Like if any projects are created from PIP, all the projects are in project controls. He's handling 4 or 5. All of them, the attribute, no, assignments are done. So he has 5 projects that he just completed. He marks them. He comes here at one shot. He can select 5 and just forward. So they go ahead with two. They all sent to A&E, packed and sent to A&E. So then A&E receives. Now it's time for A&E to take over the work and do what they have to do. So come back to the home page. Home and go to the phase summary.
Is it which one? Phase summary?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we are talking about the next 2 activities. Of course, we'll talk about scope first and then design, because scope is a in sequence. Scope is the next activity do, and once they scope it out, they do the design. So they come in a sequence and a hierarchy. So basically, now it's time for any to work. Any works differently. It clubs a bunch of LLWs together and does the work together. So first thing they do is when they get it. Now the status, when it moved from when we did the forwarding, the status changed. So it went to AE. It was showing you whatever the status was, AEPS, I think AC or something it was showing. So there's a change of status when routing is done. That's another area where there's change of status via PTS. So there is no date as such updated, but there is change of status. The first thing ANE does is, because it works off design bundles, that's how they club together LLWs. For clubbing, it could be one LLW. Because they work off design bundles, they have to create a design bundle. So they could be creating a design bundle with one LLW or more than one. So first thing they do is they create a design bundle, which is design bundle menu option. Go to design bundle menu option, Aldo. Create edit. So they come here and they say create mod. You have create. Click on create.
Oh, I cannot.
Okay, so
It is
basically
disabled for me.
okay, no problem.
Sorry.
Create basically no, don't go that route right now, because in any case we'll not be creating means. I'll leave it up to you to all create and try it out. So basically you click the create button. What happens is it gives you more than one management template, which is basically the management templates which involve scope and design. Not all management templates involve scope and design, like construction or NTP just bypasses all these activities and goes directly into construction, basically emergency projects. So the management templates that we'll get in the dropdown are the ones where scope and design or any task is involved. So we select that, it gives us LLWs, again based on status, based on rules, and these business rules are defined in tables. So we should continue to not put it here and there and continue to use these tables when required. So based on that rules, it says that, okay, bundle can be created for projects which are normal CI. I'm just throwing examples. That for normal CIP project where the status is, it's something like this, the rules are defined that normal CIP project where the status of LLW is AEPSAC. So basically it's going to filter, and once you click the management or select the management template, it's going to bring you a bunch of LLWs which have this management template selected, and the status is the one which is defined in the rules. So tomorrow if they change the rules, they have done that in the past, so it's much simpler for us to handle it via the tables. So basically it's going to pull up LLWs, and then you drag and drop and select the LLWs that you want to create a design bundle with, and you save it. And there's certain attributes which are mandatory, like description, uh, I think the studio director or whatever, some of them are, I think they have asterisk against them when you create or edit. So you have to put those attributes and save it. So basically like any other transaction, but that's what happens. So you create a design model first. Any creates a design model first and then does all its tasks of design models. That's where the design model comes into play. And then they start scoping it out. So basically, they could have done with this, created a design model with one LLW or with multiple LLWs, and then once they start scope, now the dates are getting updated via PPM. PPM is maintaining the schedule. So scope started, they'll put the scope start date. Once they put the scope start date in PPM, the dates stay in PPM, but the resulting status, because every time a date is fed, the status moves. Status is a coded representation of the stage with the project is. Instead of seeing and deciphering it yourself, where it is based on the how many dates are fed, what date is the last one fed. It's a quick representation of the stage where the project is. So if they put the scope start, the status changes to AE. PD. PD stands for pre-design. Pre-design, at one point they used to call scope pre-design. Basically, they mean the same. They're synonyms. So in and that's how this date gets updated from PPM. Now when their scope complete, they they put the scope complete date and the status moves. What the status moves to and date is marked, again, it's all rule based. So there are some rules which are basically PPM. I think they have reference rules that they know how they have to send the status, but I think they send it themselves because PPM is a third party tool. They could only do in terms of updating or interacting with PTS. There was limitation in what they could change. So however, but they send the right status associated because they have it. They have it somewhere, but I think it doesn't do it automatically. So basically, if when the scope end is added, now in the scope end, in pre-scope, there's a difference. In pre-scope, when the end date was entered, it went to ready to forward status. And now the difference over here is when the scope end date is entered, it doesn't go to scope ready to forward. It goes to design inbox automatically. Why? Can anybody tell? No?
You mean
Okay.
inbox is the default, is it a status?
Not the reason behind it is that the next activity belongs to the same department. When the next activity belongs to the same department, it just automatically goes to the inbox of the next activity. When the next activity belongs to another department, that's when forwarding comes into play. So the one before when we completed, we were done with one department, it was going to go to another department. So that's where the forwarding or the exchange between the two departments, the task is handed over to the next department. In this case, when the scope gets completed, the next activity is going to be done by ANE itself. So there's no concept of forwarding. Forwarding is between departments. Is that clear? No?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's clear.
Okay. So this was one thing that I could tell. So then design goes through the way I said, scope. Basically, when it starts, it's design, or it goes into design start automatically, or inbox. I don't remember, but I think it goes into design start or something. Okay, and then when they start its execution, then when they're done, they put design end date. When they put design end date, what would be the status? Have the tab open, the one, no, go back to home page. Let's see over there. Go to phase summary. And now I'm saying design gets completed. Now this one is a kind of done activities, but when I say design gets completed, basically the PPM would be entering actual end date for the design phase. So what happens is I set scope and design are two activities done by any. So any is done with its work. Now next it's I'm going to hand it over to another department. So what would be the status? It would be AE, DE, ready to forward. When when it's handed over to another department, it will be ready to forward. When it's within a department, it's something like when we are doing something, if we are interacting with VAS and we are done with our work, we'll hand it over to VAS, right? So basically, we'll have a kickoff meeting and we'll tell them that we are done till here and we are handing it over to you. Now it's your turn to do your piece of it. If it's some enhancement which involves multiple projects and tasks between multiple teams. So something like that analogy I'm giving. And when we are doing, say, scope and design, it has to be done by PTS team itself. I do the analysis, scoping. Say I did the scoping, and when it's ready, you people do. You'll be doing the front end, so you'll be designing it. I'll just as soon as I complete, it'll be given to you. There's no formal meeting or handover or kickoff, right? Between us, we just hand it over, saying I'm done. You can start your work. Something like that. When we have to give it to another team, we have a meeting, we hand them over, we tell them what we've done, what they'll use. So basically, the next activity, which is RFC, is done by contract admin. So it's a different department. So here comes forwarding. So again, any department uses the generic function forward routing page. And this time, go back to that page.
Guys, I have to drop for another meeting that just started right now. Simon's in it too.
Okay, so we'll
Sorry.
take it up
Yes,
later.
Yeah,
Sure.
sorry.
So we can take this up later because this is important then.
Sure.
Right? So we did delay any, we did.